relationship to Jung developed much further after she met with him privately at his Bollingen retreat while accompanying her cousin, Jerome Hill, who was beginning a film on Jung. Maud became fascinated with the large stone Jung had carved and placed in his garden in honor of his 75th birthday. She sensed that the essence of the individuation process was somehow contained in the symbols on this stone. She spent many years after this meditating on the stone's symbols. Later, she did research and active imagination to unlock the meaning of this stone for Jung, for herself, and for others. Eventually, she published a distillation of her reflections in a book entitled The Stone Speaks. This book was her last one and came out in 1987.
So I did this, and I thought, can I show this to this medicine man? Maybe he won't ever come back. And I told this to Dr. Jung, and he said, that old mind. When I told Dr. Jung, and he said, what did you do? Well, I said, I told him the dream. And what did he say? He said, if you were an Indian, it's a good dream, and if you were an Indian, I'd give a prayer over you. And I said, what difference does that make? I want the prayer. So he said, all right. So he gave the prayer. And the essence of the prayer was, I walk in beauty, you see. I'm on the path to beauty. Beauty's above me. Beauty's below me. Beauty's all around me. And it's quite a little prayer. He said, this ceremony is to drive the poison out of you, of the white man.
I see.
Yes, I should have said that.
It's like cleansing your heart.
Yes, that's it. Which opened the way. It really was amazing.
That is amazing.
And in the middle of it, he said to me, what is the most important thing in the world? And I didn't have time to even think, you see. And I said, a heart. And he said, you're right, but the white man has taken the Indian's heart away. The Indian had a heart before the white man came. I didn't meet Jung again until I went with my cousin, Jerome Hill, to call on him. In fact, Jerome wanted to take a movie of him, you know. And he sent Erica Anderson first to talk to Jung, and Jung said no, he wouldn't have movies taken of him by anyone. But in the end, he weakened and said he would. So we went on to see Dr. Jung and watch the movie Taking.
Dr. Jung, scene 3, take 1. Don't forget me about that.
Was that at Bollingen?
Yes. And we went there, and Angulo's daughter was there, too, and Jung's secretary, and he showed us all over. And I saw this, in the garden, I saw this extraordinary stone. And the minute I saw it, this mandala stone with a little figure in the middle, it just did something to me. Well, then when they were taking the movies of Jung, Romy asked him what it meant, because it was in Latin and Greek. And he said, well, it's enigmatic. Well, Romy said, enigmatic or not, I'd like to know what it is. So he told us, and it meant nothing to us, you see, but it was all written down.
Here is a Latin inscription. It's a very cryptic text that would need a lot of commentary. But I give you the mere translation. The stone speaks now, being personified, of himself, and says, Orphanos sum, solus tamen ubique reperior, udo sum sed mihi contrarius. I am an orphan, alone. Yet I am found everywhere. I am one, but I am contrary to myself. A youth and an old man at the same time. I have known neither father nor mother, because I must be lifted up from the depths. like a fish. Or I fall down from the sky, like the white stone. In woods and on mountains, I am walking about, but I am hidden. I lie hidden in the innermost of man. I am mortal for everyone, and yet I am not touched by the mutation of time.
And my cousin enlarged a huge picture of the stone. And I decided, he wanted me, for the movie he was doing of Jung, he wanted me to do what I could with the translations of the stone. And I decided that I'd do it for a book.
I see.
I was so enthralled with the whole thing that I decided I wanted to see if I could find out what it meant. And then I finally wrote to Dr. Jung, in which I said, I'm not an analyst and I have no degrees and I'm just an ordinary person, but your stone did something to me.
Can you show me the quarry that this stone came from?
Well, the quarry is right over there. It's, you see there, that wall of rock.
Yes.
Below that meadow. There's
south.
the quarry. It's now against the light, you can't see it properly.
I think I see it. And then the boat brought it over to here.
Oh, yes.
Did you order this stone?
Oh, yes.
Was it for the building of that house?
Oh, yes. We had all the stones practically from here from over there to our two quarries.
Well, how did it happen that this one stone came?
Well, that's a funny story about that stone. We needed a certain stone for that wall behind the tower, and we gave the exact measurements to the foreman, and he took them down properly. And the next day they brought a load of stones, and but we looked in vain for the stone we had ordered. It was a pretty big stone we ordered. Instead, they brought a perfect cube. Well, that stone here. And of course, my mason didn't like it at all and said they should take it back, but I took it as a hint. I leapt on it at once. I say, now this is the stone I need. And instantly I had the idea I would put it there with an inscription. You know, that cube caught my fantasy.
But you'd cut stones before, haven't you?
Oh yes, I have learned cutting stone in that quarry over there.
Really?
Yes, I have built that house here.
Well, how long did you work on it?
With two workmen. Well, we had it up practically in 6 weeks.
Well, how long did you work on the cutting of this stone?
Oh, on the stone, well, off and on since last September.
So really a year?
Well, a year, yes. But only off and on when I was here.
Did you carve all four sides of it?
No, so only the three sides. Because the back side is invisible. It's against the bushes.
What, is it sandstone?
Yes, it is a hard blue sandstone. Very hard.
And then I asked him if I could come to Bollingen again. And he wrote back and said yes. So the next time we saw Jung, which was, I think, in about 6 months. I hadn't done much. I was doing research, you see. And we saw him not at Bollingen. We saw him in Zurich. I said to Jung, oh, that stone must symbolize everything that you believe in, or something like that. And he said, oh, not at all. It just meant nothing to me. It was like a song, and my heart just sank. Well, we stayed there an hour, Romy and I, and talked with him and all about things. And I told him I'd been working with the Indians, and that's when I told him the story about the Indian that later gave a prayer over me.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were ready to leave, he turned and looked at me and he said, "Everything I believe in could be on that stone." Isn't that something?
Uh-huh.
And before that, he said something about, I never lied until I was, did he say till I was older or till I was younger? I couldn't remember. But anyway, I thought, well, you certainly lied to me. But I felt just like $1 million because I really knew.
You knew.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And then we went into the house, and I kept saying, "Oh, show me your studio, show me your workroom, show me your studio," to myself, you see. And by the time we got into the entryway where you enter the house, he turned and he looked right at me and he said, "Would you like to see my studio?"
He got the message.
Yeah, he got the message. So I went up, and that was in the tower.
Uh-huh.
And it was absolutely fascinating. He had all over the wall pieces of bone and shells, and he had vellum manuscripts, and he had Tibetan things hanging on the wall, and it was a small room, but it was jammed with things. And then this big long table, a sort of a small window looking out where he worked.
And this is where he wrote.
Yes.
Did you see any of the paintings that he did on the wall?
No, well, I just noticed the Tibetan ones.
Did you ever meet Toni Wolff?
Yes, once.
What were your impressions of her?
Well, she was with people, so, it was down when I went down to Frau Ferber's, lectures down by the lake. And I just saw her there, but I was introduced, but nothing more. I didn't talk with her.
Did her work speak to you at all on the
yes.
feminine, on the...
Oh, I thought she was excellent. Very wise woman. So then I worked 2 more years on it, and then I took it to him, and then I saw him again in Bollingen, alone. He was absolutely marvelous. I just loved Jung, and I felt so at home sort of with him, and he had this twinkle in his eye, sort of a naughty twinkle. And he also was stubborn. I could see as stubborn as I am. You could tell it in his mouth. The whole, you could say, the whole individuation process was on the stone, but written in enigmatic writing, in Greek and Latin.
Well, you see, this is a Greek inscription. It begins, Aion, Pais Esti, Paizon, Petreion, Paidos, He Basileia. It is a quotation from Hermaitos. It says, "Time is a child that plays like a child. A game on a board. The kingdom of the child. Then Telesphoros. This is the name of this little figure here. He is the familiar spirit of the god of the physicians, Aesculapius. The text says, Telesphoros traveling through the dark spaces of the cosmos. And rising out of the depth like a star. He points the way. Par Elioiopulas kai demononairo, to the gates of the sun and the land of the dreams. The latter is a quotation from Homeros. Then you see a division into four parts. Here are the three lightnings, one river. It's the ancient idea of paradise with its four rivers. Three were supposed to be equal, and one has a double meaning, and that's the one here, the river. This is an old alchemistic secret, so-called axioma Maria. This Maria has nothing to do with Mary, but with the Maria Prophetessa, or Judaica. She was a philosopher in the time of Hypatia. That was another woman philosopher living in Alexandria about the 3rd century. It says, this axioma says, from one comes two, from two, three, and from the third comes the one as the fourth. This axioma has played a very great role through 1700 years of alchemy. Then you see here the sign of the sun, here the sign of the moon. On the left side, Jupiter, on the right side, Venus. Saturn above, Mars below. These four planets are the so-called division into four, the tetrameria. Here, on the body of the child is a sign of Mercury, and he is supposed to be Mercury, or Hermes, the messenger of the gods. The text refers to him as the one that points to the region of the Westland that is supposed to be the land of the dead.
How do you see him as a figure in history? I mean, do you...
Well, I think he's one of the most important men of this age.
This is a Latin inscription. It is a verse by Arnaldus de Villanova, a famous physician and alchemist of the early 13th century. It reads, "Here is the stone, the insignificant one, cheap concerning price. It is despised by the stupid, all the more appreciated by the wise." C.G. Jung, from gratitude, has made and put this stone in memory of his 75th birthday. That's it.